There exists a certain breakfast habit so deeply woven into daily life that most people never stop to question it, especially those managing diabetes. It's the kind of ritual that feels safe because it's familiar, a food you've probably seen in your home since childhood, eaten by parents, siblings, and even grandparents. It's sold everywhere, from the smallest corner shop to the largest supermarket, and it's marketed so heavily that even if you've never bought it, you can probably picture at least five brands in your head right now. Its packaging is cheerful, the colors bright and inviting, the slogans promising health and vitality, often backed by images of smiling families or athletes. Before we continue, I'd like to tell you about Diacelan, a powerful blend of 13 natural ingredients, each carefully selected for their proven ability to support healthy blood sugar levels, enhance insulin sensitivity, and promote overall wellness. You can read more on diacelan.com. This is a food that, at first glance, feels as though it belongs in the good-for-you category, perhaps even recommended by outdated dietary guidelines from decades past. Many people with diabetes reach for it daily without hesitation, convinced it's a smart, light, and manageable way to start the day. Yet what few realize is that this innocent-looking staple can behave inside the body more like a dessert than a breakfast. For someone with an already delicate blood sugar balance, it's the nutritional equivalent of lighting a short fuse on a firework. Exciting for a moment, but quickly leading to an explosion of glucose in the bloodstream. The most unsettling part is that because it's so normalized, it quietly does its damage year after year, all while hiding in plain sight as a supposedly responsible choice. That food is breakfast cereal, the kind that comes in boxes lined up like soldiers on supermarket shelves in every imaginable flavor, shape, and color. At its core, cereal starts as a grain, wheat, corn, rice, or oats. But by the time it's been ground, extruded, baked, puffed, flaked, or sweetened, its nutritional identity is completely transformed. During manufacturing, the grain's protective layers, where most of the fiber and nutrients reside, are often stripped away or damaged beyond recognition. What's left is essentially a refined carbohydrate base that digests almost as fast as pure sugar. Your body doesn't see wholesome grain anymore. It sees a rapidly available source of glucose. Within minutes of eating even a modest bowl, especially when combined with milk, blood sugar levels can spike dramatically. Milk itself contains lactose, a natural sugar, which adds to the effect. For someone without diabetes, the pancreas responds with a swift insulin release to shuttle glucose into the cells. But for a diabetic, this process is impaired. That means sugar lingers in the blood longer, causing damage at a microscopic level to blood vessels, nerves, and organs. And it's not just the cartoon-covered cereals loaded with marshmallows or frosting. Many of the grown-up varieties marketed as high-fiber or heart-healthy have the same fundamental problem. They've been processed to a point where the body treats them like fast-burning fuel, not slow, steady energy. To see the issue clearly, it helps to understand the science of the glycemic index GY and glycemic load GL. The GI measures how quickly a food raises blood sugar compared to pure glucose, and many cereals, even the so-called healthy ones, have GI scores that rival or exceed white bread. The glycemic load takes into account the quantity of carbohydrates in a typical serving, and here's where the picture becomes even worse, because what's printed on a cereal box as one serving is often far less than what people actually pour into their bowls. That means the actual glycemic impact of a real-world portion is enormous. Imagine starting the day by eating something that, metabolically speaking, has the same effect as gulping down several teaspoons of sugar dissolved in warm water. For someone with diabetes, whose system is already compromised in how it handles glucose, this isn't just a quick burst of energy, it's a metabolic assault. Over the long term, these daily morning spikes contribute to a vicious cycle of insulin resistance, inflammation, and worsening blood sugar control. Studies using continuous glucose monitors, CGMs, show the same pattern over and over. Cereal breakfasts produce sharp, rapid peaks, followed by unstable readings for hours afterward, leaving the body in a constant state of metabolic firefighting. The problem is made worse by how cereals are marketed. Decades of advertising have trained us to associate cereal with health, energy, and convenience. Brands leverage terms like whole grain, fortified, low fat, and high fiber, all of which sound reassuring but often mask the truth. Whole grain on a box may simply mean that at some point in the manufacturing process, the grain was whole, before it was milled into dust and reconstituted into flakes or puffs. Fortified means the original nutrients were destroyed during processing, so manufacturers add synthetic vitamins back in, like demolishing a house and then taping paper walls to where the brick ones used to be. Low fat plays into the outdated notion that fat is the enemy, ignoring that without fat and protein, carbohydrates rush into the bloodstream unchecked. These health claims create a halo effect, where people overlook the fact that the product is essentially a refined carb bomb. And because many cereals taste sweet but not overly sugary, it's easy to underestimate just how much sugar or sugar-like starch they contain. Portion distortion makes matters worse. Nutrition labels might list a serving size as 3/4 of a cup or 1 cup, but think about the last time you saw anyone measure cereal. Most people fill the bowl to what feels normal, which can easily be 2 to 3 times the official serving. Add milk, and for some, even sugar or honey, and you've just created a breakfast with more carbohydrate content than a slice of pie. Even sugar-free cereals can be misleading because they're often made with refined grains that raise blood sugar nearly as fast as table sugar, or they include sugar alcohols and artificial sweeteners that, while lower in calories, may still cause glucose spikes in certain individuals and disrupt gut health. When diabetics unknowingly start their day with this combination, they set the stage for hours of unstable glucose, hunger pangs, and cravings that can derail even the most disciplined meal plan. The blood sugar spike is only the beginning. The crash that follows can be equally destructive. Because cereal lacks substantial protein, healthy fats, or intact fiber, it burns through the system quickly, leaving you hungry and sluggish not long after eating. This hunger often drives people toward another quick carbohydrate fix, maybe a mid-morning pastry, granola bar, or even another bowl of cereal, continuing the roller coaster of spikes and crashes. For diabetics, this instability makes it harder to predict and manage glucose levels, increasing the risk of both hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia throughout the day. Long-term, these fluctuations aren't just inconvenient, they're harmful. They contribute to oxidative stress, nerve damage, and a greater likelihood of cardiovascular disease. The feel-good morning routine of pouring a bowl of cereal ends up being anything but, creating a cascade of negative effects that ripple into every aspect of metabolic health. So why do so many people keep eating cereal daily despite these risks? Partly because of habit and partly because of nostalgia. Many of us were raised on cereal, and the act of pouring it into a bowl feels comforting, almost ritualistic. Food companies know this, which is why they design their packaging and ads to evoke that sense of home and childhood. There's also the convenience factor. It's hard to beat the speed of cereal when you're rushing out the door in the morning, and unfortunately, outdated dietary advice from the low-fat era of the late 20th century still lingers, leading people to believe that a bowl of low-fat cereal with skim milk is the responsible choice. But that advice never took into account the unique metabolic needs of diabetics, nor did it factor in the modern versions of cereal, which are more processed, sweeter, and less nutrient-dense than those from decades past. The good news is that breaking free from the cereal habit can bring rapid improvements in blood sugar control. Replacing high GI, low-protein breakfast with meals built around protein, healthy fats, and natural fiber can stabilize energy for hours and keep glucose in a healthier range. Eggs, whether boiled, scrambled, or made into a veggie-packed omelet, are an excellent base. Unsweetened Greek yogurt with berries, chia seeds, and a sprinkle of nuts offers both satiety and micronutrients. Even carbohydrate-containing options like steel-cut oats or quinoa can work if they're paired with protein and healthy fat sources to slow their digestion. For those who crave the crunch of cereal, making your own nut and seed mix baked with cinnamon and unsweetened coconut can mimic the texture while providing a vastly better nutritional profile. If giving up cereal entirely feels too drastic, small steps can still help. Measure out smaller portions, pair them with protein-rich sides, and opt for varieties with no added sugar and minimal processing. Treat cereal as an occasional treat rather than a daily staple, and you'll immediately reduce the frequency and severity of your morning glucose spikes. Keep in mind that the first meal of the day sets the metabolic tone for the hours that follow. For diabetics, starting strong can mean the difference between a day of steady, manageable blood sugar and a day of constant corrections, crashes, and cravings. The truth is simple but profound. The single most common breakfast for diabetics is often the very thing silently working against them day after day. Breakfast cereal, no matter how attractively packaged, cleverly marketed, or nostalgically comforting, remains a mismatch for the way a diabetic body needs to process food. It's not about demonizing a single product out of spite or paranoia, but about understanding what actually happens inside your body when you eat it. Every morning you choose cereal, you're essentially stepping onto a metabolic roller coaster that starts with a sugar surge, rushes into a crash, and repeats in cycles that can last all day. And over time, those repeated spikes and dips aren't just uncomfortable. They chip away at your body's resilience, inflame your system, and push you closer toward complications that are far harder to reverse than they are to prevent. The cost of that quick and easy breakfast is far higher than it appears on the surface, and the real price is paid quietly in your energy, your stability, and your long-term health. The encouraging news is that this is one area where you have complete control. You don't have to wait for a doctor's prescription, a breakthrough medication, or some complicated dietary overhaul. You can make the decision tomorrow morning, or even tonight when you plan your next day, to swap that cereal bowl for something that truly supports your body's needs. That swap doesn't have to be drastic or joyless. It could be as simple as an omelet with spinach and cheese, a bowl of unsweetened Greek yogurt topped with nuts and cinnamon, or a warm portion of steel-cut oats made satisfying with chia seeds and a dollop of almond butter. These choices keep your blood sugar steady, your hunger at bay, and your energy consistent without depriving you of taste or comfort. You can still have texture, warmth, sweetness, and crunch, but in forms that nourish rather than harm. Over days and weeks, these changes compound, leading to smoother blood sugar readings, fewer cravings, and a sense of confidence that you are actively steering your health in the right direction. Choosing a breakfast that aligns with your health goals reinforces the mindset that you are in control, capable of making decisions that serve your best future. So while cereal might be quick, familiar, and wrapped in a lifetime of marketing and nostalgia, it's worth asking yourself a simple but powerful question. Does this food actually deserve a place in my daily life? If the honest answer is no, then replacing it is one of the most straightforward, high-impact changes you can make for your diabetes and your long-term health. You don't have to give it up forever if you truly enjoy it, but treat it like the occasional indulgence it should be, not the default foundation of your mornings. Your body will thank you, your blood sugar will reflect the difference, and your future self will be in a far stronger position to live with energy, clarity, and freedom from unnecessary complications. In the grand scheme of managing diabetes, it's not always the big dramatic changes that deliver the most lasting results. It's often the small, consistent choices, repeated day after day, that add up to transformation. Choosing the right breakfast is one of those choices, and it starts with letting go of the myth that cereal is your friend and embracing the reality that you can start every day on your own terms with food that truly has your back.